When we think about social media, especially with teenagers, there's just so much conversation around how they are affected mentally, physically, and it's a sense of a vulnerability that oftentimes will get the best of them.
For teenagers, it's so much information at one time, especially when it comes to their self-esteem.
Yeah, and then overall how that affects their mental health with feeling anxious of not feeling pretty enough or not being thin enough or feeling like they're overweight. So that also goes into disordered eating, what sometimes happens to individuals who are trying to keep up.
And we have to remember how smart teenagers are. We've had experiences where we've had clients who have been trafficked via social media, Instagram, TikTok, and those different things because they have secret accounts or they're talking to people who aren't appropriate for them to be having conversation with. And we've seen how much of an impact that's made on their mental health too, PTSD, how it's impacted their families, especially if those people prove to be very dangerous.
Know that it's a difficult journey for the way that they have to navigate growing up, but these are some of the things that they can do to help them just to be able to understand each other differently, but also understand that how they grew up is not how their child is growing up with the access that they have to all of these platforms.
I did a group, we talked about social media and I was like, well, what time are y'all going to bed? And they were saying, oh, I'm going to bed around 2, 3 a.m. I said, wait a minute, what are you doing to 2, 3 a.m.? They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, just scrolling, sometimes doom scrolling. You get a hit of dopamine every time you scroll or you like something. And so that's how it becomes an addiction. And so I feel like parents should know and monitor the use of their kids' social media. We've had kids who've had emotional breakdowns around not having their phones. And so it's super important that parents look into resources that are out there that help them to monitor like how much time their kids are spending.
I think that they just have to understand they can't be punitive. I know some nowadays, I remember in the clinic, some of the parents had platforms where they could see in real time, like the text messages, just the phone in general. So if they're accessing that and they see something that really sets them off, it's maybe taking a deep breath, taking some time to walk away from the situation, and then maybe calling a family meeting and just saying like, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, and just allow them to have the opportunity to not feel like they're automatically being punished for what they're doing on social media.
And the last thing I would add too is for parents to express how worried they are and that they may be scared for their kid, especially when they see certain things. A lot of times our parents aren't vulnerable with their children and they come from a punitive place, which then impacts how their kids see them. And I feel like one of the things I would always talk to our kids about at the clinic is to remember that their parents too are human, right? They're not just your parents. They are just people who still have emotions. And I think that's a big part of this conversation as well.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for spending time with us today.